was unmuted. I was still muted. Can you hear me? I was muted. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, audience. Okay. We want to thank you for joining us today. It's a lovely Thursday, the 10th day in the month of September 2020. A lot of us have our views on the year 2020. Some persons think it's a year that should have not happened. A lot of us are waiting for the year to just come and go, you know. But I believe there's still a chunk of others that are trying to see how they can better utilize the year to still work for their advantage. So it's on that note I want to welcome you to today's online series. We'll be looking at building leadership capacity in the new economy. And it's very, very imperative we do that. I mean, with the advent of the technology, internet growth, globalization, we've gone through a lot of metamorphosis on the way we work, the way we play, and even the way we live. And then COVID-19 has actually come to, for some people, make that situation a little bit more worse, or for some others, it has also improved the situation. However, one thing is certain, that the new economy has, ushered in a lot of, new things, and we're seeing how it affects the tech industry, the manufacturing industry, the engineering industry, our communities, even governance, and the way we do things as individuals. But at the middle and at the center of all of these are the category of people we refer to as leaders. And today we'll be x-raying how have leaders been able to provide that leadership, whatever that will be, as we'll be looking at today's session, in the new economy. Have they been able to live up to expectation? Have they been able to take the lead in providing the relevant direction, for things to work and for people to find expression to move on? So those are some of the things we'll be x-raying. And if they've not, what are those capacity, kind of types of capacity that they probably will need to bring on board so that we can better navigate this kind of crisis and also lead our lives in the new economy that we find ourselves. And to help us do this and discuss along these lines is those of you that are very conversant with, the leadership structure and balance in Nigeria, and more so for those of you in Cross River State. I don't think he's somebody that needs too much introduction. He's led at different capacity, but only recently he was the speaker at the House of Assembly in Cross River State. But it's not just limited to that. He wears many hats, I would tell you. He's a solicitor at the Gallgate Law. So John Gollebo is a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. His firm, the Gallgate Law, was the first to introduce ICT law reports to the Supreme Court of Nigeria and organized the first online bar conference. He has a master's in international economic law and studied decision science at the Harvard Business School, Boston. He also studied adaptive leadership and government models at Harvard Kennedy School, Boston, strategic management and development at the Johannesburg Business School, among a lot of other, studies that he has actually exposed and experienced over time. Leboy is a recipient of several awards and honors on good governance, leadership excellence, youth development, and contributions generally to humanity. And as of today, he continues to explore opportunities in leading innovations and change in the world while building personal capacity to compete in the new knowledge economy. So please help me welcome wherever you are, with a standing ovation, with a clapping ovation. My guest, our guest, your guest, Barrister Lebo John Gall. John Gall, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Please, you may have to speak up a bit, and then.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Okay, now it's better. But if possible, can your video be turned on? I don't know where you are.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Again, like I said, thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you.
This edition of our online series. Like you already know, and like we've spoken about, we'll be looking at building leadership capacity in the new economy. I mean, it's been termed a lot of names. It's data economy, knowledge economy, and technology economy, digital economy, whatever nomenclature we want to give it. So can you just walk us through, in your own opinion, in your own assessment? We'll be having this discussion for the next 1 hour for the purpose of our audience. So please, as we get along in the conversation, if you have questions, please drop them in the question and answers section, and then I will project your questions to our guests as the need arises. So we've started. John Gall, please just take us through your thoughts on how you think we have fared in terms of leadership since the advent of the new economy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, we can start right away.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity of having me here. We'll just go straight away. I think we should deal with this perspective in three broad issues. The first is that we need to deal with leadership, and then the second, we have to deal with building leadership.
We can't hear you at the moment.
Leadership capacity, and the third were three subheadings that will deal with leadership. Then the second will deal with applying leadership to influencing human behavior to accomplish our objective. Influencing human behavior to accomplish visions either in position of authority, someone influence. So leadership is an act that involves issues. The first is that ability to influence human behavior. A leader is someone who is in control of human beings, not animals. Then his capacity to influence that human behavior in order for him to accomplish a particular mission, task, or responsibility is what leadership is all about. A lot of people say that the first responsibility of the leader is to create a vision, create a course of action, so that the citizens and the subjects can respond by a course for action. So that's basically what leadership is all about. Now, when you're dealing with leadership, do not forget that there are 3 or 4 basic things you need to understand. First thing is that for you in a position of leadership, it means that you must have control of political authority. Sometimes people call it political authority or economic authority.
Okay, sir. I think we're having some network challenges in between your presentation. I don't know if we can quickly check that.
Okay.
Yes, you're breaking in between, so we want to be able to follow through your line of thought.
Okay, so
you can go ahead. If
okay.
we have any challenge,
okay.
I'll draw your attention to it. Yeah.
Okay. Leadership is an act of influencing human behavior to accomplish either a mission or a vision or a task or a responsibility. And I also say that leadership involves the exercise of one, political authority or the exercise of authority. Secondly, involves influence, exercising influence over people. And then the third is that it also involves the exercise or the use of power and then control. Now, when you're dealing with political leaders, when you're dealing with a leadership that involves a level of control, you probably are not, you're dealing with somebody who is in control of statutory authority, like the governor of a state, or like the commissioner of the police, or the DPO of a police station. Leaders like that control using authority. But the best form of leadership that the world has known, which will be relevant for the new economic is elected into an office. It's not every leader who contests an election. It's not every leader who is part of a political party. Jeff Bezos, who is the richest man in the world, does not belong to a non-political party. He does not control political authority, but he controls influence. Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, is not a member of a political party, did not contest an election. He was not former Speaker of any House of Assembly, but it controls tremendous influence. It is still a kind of leadership. So when you find somebody in a position of authority, you must also realize the fact that a person has certain infrastructure available that he can deploy. And one of that infrastructure is either his power, or he has influence, he has control of political authority, or he has a small level of infrastructure. Is he deploying? Is it by authority? Is it by influence? But the truth is that in summary, generally around life, you find it very difficult, apart from politicians or people who are in charge of regulatory framework or security agencies, to distinguish the kind of leadership control they have. They bring in influence and then they bring in authority. So the world, the future of leadership in the world is looking for leaders who have the looking for. That's what society is looking for. And then when you get down into leadership, you realize that to build one of the biggest challenge of leadership, it is not the position that the person is occupying, the leadership position. It is who he is. He is today, which is a challenge in the new economy, is the ability to identify and develop the right kind of leaders, not leadership now. The ability to identify is he occupying. If you have your governor, or you have your House of Assembly member, or your House of Reps member, or have the general manager of a company, or you have somebody who is the founder, or somebody like Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, the question is that who is he? What position is he occupying? What is his human mental acumen? In leadership psychology and decision science, they call it the human mental storage capacity. What is the kind of mental storage capacity that this individual has? Because leaders are not born, leaders are made. Leaders are the resources that can be grown into leadership. So there's what is called leadership holding environment in decision science. A leadership holding environment is the point at which a society identifies the human resources of its citizens, separate those who can lead and those who should be led, separate those who have empathy, who have that can be brought into that leadership responsibility. The world has seen different leadership institutes. The Harvard Kennedy School of Governance and Politics, Johns Hopkins University Center for Leadership Training, Stanford University Center for Leadership Training. MIT even has a future leadership technology program. And all of those things are all available. So how do you now build that leadership capacity? What do you mean by human leadership capacity? That your leaders are not people who have IQ, intelligent quotient. Now, you look at dealing with intelligent quotient, the average human being is supposed to pass through 5 levels of intelligence quotient capacity. There are 5 levels of intelligence of a typical human being. Your leader, for somebody to be a leader, he must get to at least the middle ground, which is the third level of that leadership capacity. When you find a leader who is below any of the 5 leadership capacity, you're going to have issues, because what will happen is a natural progression system. A leader from the level of perfection down to the level.
Okay. Hello, sir. If you can just give us a minute.
And kindergarten.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Mr. John, can you hear me, sir? Hello? Okay, so we seem to be having a bit of a technical difficulty from our guest end. We'll try to see how we can immediately sort that out so that we can get back. Apologies if you're finding it difficult to follow through. Okay, so Mr. Lebo, thank you for rejoining us. I think the network from your end seems not to be helping us follow through with your line of thoughts and contributions. In as much as we would like to have your video, let's try and see if you turn off your video, it could be better. Let's just try that and see. You can turn off your video, sir. And then unmute yourself. I'm not hearing you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, so let's try this, because a lot of the time when you were talking, we couldn't follow through because it kept breaking and breaking and breaking. If you could just summarize what you've said before, so that we can help, you can help connect us with what you're going to be saying after now.
Okay, so I'll just summarize by saying that we started by talking about leadership. I will say that leadership is an act of influencing human behavior to achieve a particular course of action, a vision, or a mission. That's the responsibility. It's not dependent on the control of authority, in this case, political authority, but by those who can lead by influence. The quality of influence that the leader can bring to influence the behavior of the citizens, of the behavior of society, is a feature of leadership. And then we went on to now talk about that one of the critical issues about leadership is not leadership itself, but the ability of the society to build the capacity of its leadership. And then we went on to say that, you know, when you're talking about leadership capacity, it's not about the position the person finds. It's about a human quotient the human mental storage capacity of the person itself. Who is he? Is he an idiot? Is he a fool? Is he smart? Is he savvy? Is he dull? Is he someone who cannot listen? Is he someone who knows everything? That is also very, very critical. And before the network got back, we're talking about that your average leadership IQ will pass through 5 stages of generation of development of leadership capacity. The first generation we talked about is premature and kindergarten. At the premature and kindergarten level, you're talking about a child, a nurturing child, a child that is being brought up, who grows up to the point just before he becomes an adult. A lot of people grow with stunted growth to the point where they are premature, they are young people, they are kindergarten. Even though they grow to the level of becoming youth and adult, they still really reason like kids. They are still premature. The second level is the level where somebody becomes a youth, where somebody becomes an adult. That adult stage of agitation, that adult stage of demanding for their rights, that adult stage of asking for a better location within Human Prosperity Index, that adult stage of requesting for self-control is a very important stage of leadership development. It's at that point you find a lot of young people being very critical of government, demanding for their rights. You find a lot of youth activists. Now you find them, a lot of them on social media becoming activists. That is another level of leadership capacity. If your leader is at the point of having adult intelligence, or is at the point of having useful intelligence, is he the kind of person you want to build to become the leader of your society or the leader of the country? Now you move to the third level. The third level of leadership is a level that's called the average level of capacity. That average level of capacity is looked at the area of sector-specific intelligence. That is where you find an excellent lawyer, an excellent doctor, an excellent engineer, an excellent administrator, an excellent technology innovator, and all of that. The society is divided into different sectors. Somebody can be excellent in one area, but not excellent in another area. The fact that somebody is a first-class graduate does not mean that he will be a good governor. These are some of the issues and challenges that you find. So that's the level of intelligence. Now, the question is that if you identify somebody who has a first class in physics and develop him as a leader with a sector-specific or myopic point of view of intelligence, of being a first-class graduate in physics or chemistry or mathematics, is that enough to make him a good leader? What are the things that society needs to do to develop to that level? Develop into the level of being somebody who have that capacity. That takes us to the fourth level. The fourth level is called elevation intelligence. The elevation intelligence capacity of leadership building is a period of elastic intelligence where a leader, no matter what he is, he has the capacity, the mental storage to be able to learn other things, listen more, take more innovation, being a little bit very curious, and then having the clarity to pick up ideas and opinion from people, put into a structure and create a solution architecture for society. That is the level. From all research available and all of that, and looking at the book written by Jeff Bezos, Navigating Through Chaos, you see that one of the important stages in which society must find and develop its leaders is at the point where everybody must develop as a leader, but get to the level of elevation intelligence. That is the third critical level of elevation, and fourth level of elevation intelligence. That fourth level of elevation intelligence ensures that he's acquired knowledge, he has acquired capacity, he has developed from being a child to becoming a youth, from a youth to an adult, from adult to building a sector-specific intelligence, acquiring particular training in a particular field, and is now ready to cleanse up his mind and listen more and build up a solution architecture for society. The last level, of course, is called the perfection level, which is, they refer to it as the avatar level. That is the stage where very few human beings get into. People like Bill Gates, if you check the 10 top richest people in the world, they've gotten to a level of perfection. People like the late Steve Jobs got to that level of perfection. Is that the level of perfection that you need to build your leaders? No, you don't need to build your leaders from that point. Your leaders must come to that level where they are able to either build sector-specific capacity. If you have an adult as a leader, you actually may just be having an impossible adult. He's an adult but does not have the capacity to be able to warehouse the various point of view and perspective of challenges of society and can model them together into a vehicle that will create a solution for society. Now, if you look at there are some specific people you can check around the world and you see that these ones are excellent leaders. Look at somebody like Al Gore. Al Gore was Vice President of America, but Al Gore today is renowned as one of the leading authors in the world. Climate change, his book on the future, excellent book, and a lot of other people. You find people like that, but you still find other people who are king and princes in other countries who have not reached that capacity, but they are still able to deliver leadership in their communities. Look at the Middle East, the Sultan of Brunei, look at the Emir of Qatar. All of these ones may not have gotten to that level, but they were able to get to the level of that elevation intelligence that they can develop at that point. So, to summarize on this point, our greatest challenge in leadership, when you are approaching building leadership for the future, is at what point the society is able to create a leadership academy or a leadership holding environment to recover its citizens from the age of being youth, age of being premature, to the age of having sector-specific intelligence and having the elevation intelligence to warehouse the challenges of society and design solution architecture for society. The society that we are living in and the society we are moving into, which is called the new economy, is regulated by 3 or 4 different revolutions. And these revolutions have come, they can't go, they will continue to remain. No matter where you live, you talk about the New World Order. The New World Order has gone through a political order, it's gone through an economic order. And today, what you find out is the digital revolution. Now, the 4 revolutions that have changed the world and have remained forever first is the agricultural revolution. The agricultural revolution came in at a point where it was considered that the use of plantations in South America and different parts of the world, the use of agricultural produce, export and import of those agricultural produce was the single commodity that provided the highest source of wealth for the world. So the people who had the countries with the highest GDP were agricultural societies. The fact that those societies were able to create that plantation economy and build it up to become rich countries in the world was a revolution in itself. The world moved from that point to the second revolution, which is called the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is called the Steel and the Steam Revolution. It's a period where machines, steel machines, locomotive machines, agricultural equipment, industries were developed. That's the point where the world felt that they have gone to what's called the Industrial Revolution, where we move from agriculture to industries, where you can take agricultural produce and produce them and put them through industrial processes and bring out goods and services. That's the Industrial Revolution. The agricultural revolution has not come to an end. It's still coming back. You can see that everybody is emphasizing go back to agriculture, go back to agriculture. And you still find top rich 100 people in the world who are involved in agricultural services. They are still clinging on to the agricultural revolution. The industrial revolution, you still see companies that are setting up. If you go to EPZ in Calabar, if you go to the Do Industrial Estate in Abuja, or if you go to Lagos, Apapa Industrial Estate in Abuja, you still find companies. You go to India, China itself is a workshop, is an industrial hub of the world. China specializes in manufacturing and production. Till tomorrow, they are the highest for the whole world. So the industrial revolution is also there. Then we move from that revolution to the knowledge economy. The knowledge economy is where knowledge became a key resource. Knowledge could be managed and transformed into commodity and can increase your GDP. And it became a source of wealth that nations could exploit and could sell and make money out of it. The advent of the University of Harvard, Stanford University, MIT, California Institute of Technology, Johns Hopkins University produced a quality generation of leaders whose human capacity became a source of commodity and who became among the top richest people in the world. If you check today, look at a lot of these innovations that have led to the new industrial revolution that we find ourselves. They came all from knowledge, from knowledge management. Microsoft, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all of that came from that level. And then the last of what we keep talking about is the technology and then the innovation revolution. This is the current revolution. The innovation technology has brought a value chain. You have technology, you have innovation, you have data, you have disruption, and the world has continued at that level. What has happened is that in the new economy has introduced what is called innovation governance and economic governance. In the new economic order, the world is emphasizing less on political authority. The world is emphasizing less on the person who is elected as president of America. The world is emphasizing more on innovations, on technologies that can create a value chain, bring GDP to companies and to the country. I give you one single example: is the generation of telecommunications. We started with 1G, we moved to America, pioneered 1G, 2G, it got to 3G, they pioneered to South Korea, with China, we had 3G. America took complete control, monopoly of 5G. Then China broke the rank, entered with South Korea, Norway, and America, and we have the 5G era. The 5G technology era is estimated to be worth almost about $56 trillion in value and revenue. And that value and revenue is coming first to the companies who are involved. They are private companies who are involved in developing the 5G network. And they are, whatever funding they get from the 5G network is also going to influence the GDP of their countries. So when you find China, you find companies in South Korea, anything they attract will boost the GDP of their countries. That is innovation governance. Now, when you go back and check the world GDP list today, you find that we are gradually losing. Countries are getting are going out of the world economic radar. Countries are human beings. Companies are becoming richer than countries. States, municipal states in certain countries are becoming richer than continents. A typical example, if you check, look at the total wealth and the GDP generated by Jeff Bezos in a year. Compare that to Nigeria. Look at the total GDP generated by for a state like California and compare that to Nigeria. Look at the GDP of Stanford University and compare that to a whole country as Nigeria. You will now see that the new world economy we're talking about is being driven by innovation governance, not political governance. It's being driven by economic governance, not political governance.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so very much. I mean, you seem to have a lot to dish out. If I to leave you, you will just keep going and going and going, and very quite informative sessions you've actually shared, information that you've actually shared with us. But let me take you back a bit. You mentioned that one of the challenges we have, particularly in the new economy, because I want us to be able to contextualize the discussion around building leadership capacity, or the revolutions that we have had to go through rather. So I want us to contextualize it under, put some form of context, and so that we can drive home and take some key actions that we can actually, act on year after. So you mentioned that one of the challenge is, particularly with the new economy, is creating sort of a leadership holding environment that can help translate our current leaders at whatever level of intelligence they are to an elevation kind of intelligence, or a perfectionist kind of this level that you refer to as the avatar. So in your own opinion, how can we do that? What do we need to do? What kind of capacity, as it were, do leaders need to build? What kind of structures do we need to put in place? And I want you to look at it probably within the context of Africa, and if you can narrow it down between, Nigeria, because that's where a huge number of our audience today is joining us from. So if we look at within the Nigerian state, as it were, and then we want to look at X-ray it with the leaders we have. And for the purpose of clarity, the leaders, when we're talking of leaders here, we're looking at beyond political leaders. So it doesn't matter whether it is within the political space, business space, or you're leading an organization, or you're leading at a community level. I want to believe the intelligence, are cut across those spaces. So, sir, with the context of a Nigerian state, and looking at how much we have fared, cutting across the different sectors as leaders, and the challenge you've rightly identified in terms of building a leadership holding environment, what must we do moving forward to ensure that in this new economy that we find ourselves, we don't continue to play catch up forever? we are at some point, be positioned to take the lead and also provide examples for other people to follow.
Okay, yes, thank you. The first thing we need to do within the context, let me use Nigeria as a context, to improve on our leadership capacity institution is, first of all, is to change our merit architecture. Every society is distinguished by the quality of its merit architecture. Your merit economy is very, very important. Your merit economy is that you cannot have a constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that puts the minimum qualification to be president of Nigeria at school start. That is one of the worst human disaster that the country can have, where you agree that the average human intelligence quotient required to be a leader is that the person could be a school start. A school start holder at the age of 60 or 70 years, does he have that mental human storage capacity, human mental storage capacity for you? Do you have the time as a country to spend all your resources to carry a school start holder and train him through the metrics of governing, of being in charge of 776 local government, 36 states, and then sit over the Federal Executive Council? Do you think that he has enough mental resources, or does he have the capacity to warehouse that mental archive required to face the challenges? There are three things that I call 3 C's that you need in building leadership capacity. So put that side by side with your merit architecture in the society. Number one is that you need courage. For somebody, one of the first schools that a leader must attend is a school of courage. A leader must have the courage to take decisions. Obama calls it audacity. If you read the Obama's book, Audacity of Hope, you know that a leader gets to the point where without courage, you are mediocre. You can be a PhD holder and be president of Nigeria. They will call you being clueless, because it has to do with the ability to summon courage to take certain decisions. The second thing is that is a clarity of mindset. It's called perspective intelligence, perception intelligence. How do you understand issues? There are people who understand issues only from their own point of view. No matter what you tell them, they are seeing it at the bottom line as their own point of view. If your leader does not have a clear mindset, if his mental screen is not clear enough, you have a plague in your hand, worse than coronavirus. The third is curiosity. You need a leader who is curious, who must listen to other point of view. You have stakeholders, and then you have the minorities. You have those who always challenge authorities. My dad told me that you must allow your arrogance of ignorance. Your arrogance of ignorance must allow you to tap from the resources of your enemy.
Hello, are you still there, sir?
Hello. Recently, I found a book in my study called "Surrounded by Idiots." I've been reading through that book, and I saw something very important. It said that sometimes even fools can be right. So as a leader, you must have that curiosity, and finally, you must have a sense of awareness. A leader who doesn't know what is going on is not intelligence; it's sense of awareness. Your society is going to be in great danger. So, my first perspective going forward is that for us to be able to have a good leadership academy, a virtual leadership academy, which is like a university of the street, a university of society, which does not require you to go to the 4 walls of a classroom, is that the first thing is that our minimum qualification, our minimum merit system, credentials to be for anybody to hold certain positions of authority or position of influence in society must increase. I expect that the minimum we should have graduate level first degree. But I own a law firm. I've seen graduates who are lawyers come to my law firm and cannot put an application together. I've seen graduates who cannot put their CVs together. I've done a presentation of a brief of 2 pages, and I've given it to young lawyers who cannot go to court and express themselves. And they had 2-1 and first class in the university. So it's not about that academic credentials. So if it's not about the academic credential, how bad is it for you to now have somebody with school start? When I was at business school, I was taught about worst case scenario. Then subsequently, they also talked about a worst case scenario that is worse than the worst case scenario. That is a point of 000, where the situation is so bad. So a society that who doesn't have a merit system is very bad. Now, let me distinguish a fact. You always should know the difference between development, in psychology, between development and civilization. Societies develop, people become civilized. You cannot produce a civilization from a society that is not developed. People cannot live in the village and become civilized. They need to migrate to an urban center, which is why you have a progression between different levels. The level of education the person will acquire depends on the level of society where he is. A child who grows up in Manhattan, the kind of IQ and education you acquire, the kind of IQ base that he will be different from the person who grew up in my village in Adatama, in Abi local government of Cross River State, where they don't have their school systems may not be the same thing as having a school in Manhattan. So that determines. So sometimes people say Donald Trump and President Buhari, for instance, look at their credentials. You won't look at their credentials. Look at Donald Trump. He grew up in New York. The experience he has had, the businesses is control. Is Donald Trump still developing, or is Donald Trump civilized? Yes. Is Buhari still developing or civilized? Buhari is still developing. That's the issue we have. So for young people, as we move forward, the new economy is not looking for people in control of political authority. You want to control, you need to have political authority to be a leader in society. We're getting it wrong. It's an outdated concept. The new economy that we are into is looking for those who have the capacity to influence human behavior. If you have a product in the market, you can't go around advertising that product. Leadership is not faith. Leadership is not prophecy, even though there is what is called spirit of leadership. And God, if you are a leader and you are prayerful, God can give you the mindset of a leader. Have it there. But you can't develop leadership by somebody prophesying to you that you're a leader. You have to develop that capacity. So I would say on this issue that the greatest challenge that the society will face and the greatest calamity that Africa is facing in Nigeria is our inability to identify the right human resource and our inability to develop those human resources to achieve a particular objective. At what time have we as a country sat down to analyze to see that somebody, for instance, let me start an example, somebody like Peter Obi, the former governor of Anambra State, having shown such capacity, our society should invest in someone like that. At what point have we realized if you put President Buhari to run elections, a lot of people will still vote for him despite all the challenges happening? That's where we are getting our problems from. Our society has not identified that. We still consider our politicians, our leaders as philanthropists. We elect people that we know they don't have the capacity, but we elect them because we're a prebendal political system. So people expect that the House of Reps member must be a good philanthropist, even though he will not know how to own the microphone in the House of Reps. But if he can go there, come back and share money to people, buy vehicle and dash to people and all of that is enough. That's where we have the challenge. So for us who are young people who are looking at leading in the new economy, the first thing you need to do is that you must build your own personal merit system. You must be able to attain a certain level of education. In the intelligent level I analyze, I said number 3, you must have that sector-specific intelligence. That means that if you study chemistry, you would have graduated with a degree in chemistry and have been in small control of the intelligence environment of being a graduate of chemistry. At that point now, you are not available for elevation intelligence. That means that you are available to be improved upon. The society should start developing their leaders from the level of elevation intelligence. That means that it is their personal responsibility to grow through primary, secondary, get to university, and acquire a specialization in anything. Maybe a specialization in a Christian religious science or whatever it is. Leadership has nothing to do with the course you study. Once you have acquired that basic foundation, you are now available to be improved upon. Our society, our country, heading towards the new economy is to identify the right human capacity with the right sector-specific intelligence and begin to improve on them using elevation intelligence. Elevation intelligence is like drawing an elastic. Intelligence is like an elastic. You can stretch it to the end. If you build my capacity more, If I have the opportunity, I'll go to Stanford University and I finish my program at MIT, I'll become a better leader. I'll become a better decision scientist. If you carry a young boy from the University of Calabar who is a graduate and push him through certain experience, and the experience is not educational, experience is giving him a position of responsibility, watching him make mistakes and improve on that mistakes, you can get better. So a society that does not build up its merit system, a society that cannot identify the right human resources, if you recruit idiots as leaders, you're going to have results from idiots. If you recruit pastors as your leaders, you're going to turn your society into a church. The whole society you have. I was reading an article where they said that the first evidence of depression in the society is where businesses are closing up and churches are springing up. It may not be true, but you find that situation there. So leadership at that point is very different. Finally, on this issue, the greatest thing that your leader must bring to the table for society to move forward is not the amount of resources they can bring together. It is what is called social capital. Social capital is the ability of society to look at their leader and trust their leader. It tells them that I'm going to bring petroleum price to 60 or 80, even though it may be 180, but they see the effort that the leader has put in, whether there are circumstances that change that effort, they trust him. That is what society needs. Businesses will function, people will make more progress, people can go to sleep believing that they can trust their leader. A society that produces a leader that cannot bring social capital to the table is headed towards disaster. The point at which we are in Nigeria is a point where Nigerians have not been able to find their politicians, elected politicians, as having the capacity to bring social capital to the table. They don't trust what they tell them. We promise light, we are unable to deliver. We promise security, we are unable to deliver. We promise good food, we are unable to deliver. We promise good educational institution, we are unable to deliver. We promise employment, we are giving them unemployment. This all put together brings a society to that point. Now, when that society gets to that point, what you need is for you to go back to the point of identifying the kind of leaders that can meet the circumstance of the situation. When you talk about elevation intelligence is good enough that it gives you circumstantial intelligence. If Cross River State is passing through kidnapping and bad, and then poor infrastructure or poor education infrastructure, for instance, elevation intelligence is able to elevate the mindset and the capacity of the leader to face squarely the issue of dealing with that. And for you to be able to deal with security as a governor or as president, you don't need to be a general. You don't need to be a former commissioner of police. But you discover that there are people with sector-specific capacity who can deal with security. You have the commissioner of police, you have the director of SSS, you have the brigade commander, you have the intelligence network. So the elevation intelligence allows the leader to now tap from the resources of that sector and then be able to put it together. A leader is not a motivational speaker. A leader is not the one who is developing ideas. A leader is the one who is able to see opportunities from ideas. Once a leader is a motivational speaker, he should go to church and become a pastor and prophesy to the future or to the past. The solutions of society require instant circumstance and require instant solution in such a way that what the society is looking for is a kind of person that can come, look at their challenges, and design a solution architecture vehicle to the future. Some people, Obama used to call it, monopoly of intelligence. He said the leader must have monopoly of intelligence and must be a good solution architect or must be a good future architect. That's possible in America. Obama went to Harvard, went to Columbia University, went to the Senate. Obama went through that leadership institution in America. Obama has a focus and became president of America and an excellent president. We find a situation where somebody becomes a soldier, goes through military academy, retires as a general, goes to farming, comes back, and then brings up his hand as a messiah of society. We say he's poor, he's a philanthropist. That's really merit architecture you have. Attempted school sack, and then you're now elected president of Nigeria. And you expect that you have identified the right human resource, store the right human mental storage capacity, your leader, and you expect that your leader can be able to bring solution to the table. That's the challenge you have. We in Nigeria, we are so far away from the new economy. We are so far away from the new economy because we are unable to tap into the innovation and the technology. required. We are unable to develop our innovation government. That is why most of the big companies in Nigeria are not connected to the Nigerian GDP. That is, with the current generation of human beings alive today, are the laziest set of human beings ever. We have 7.6 billion people in the world. The total world GDP is about $448 trillion. If you times that amount times 7 point something, you're finding that the average human being should be living $18 or $20 per day. We have the poorest set of people. Yet, if you check through, we have the richest set of human beings ever. Who have maybe 100%, 2% of the entire world population have that amount of resources. And my summary is that the people you find in that world list of the richest person are the people who have navigated from leadership by authority to the point where they have created wealth.
Okay, sir.
Which is for our own content into certain lines for the purpose of leadership action. Number one, people who are elected into political offices should control political authority, maintain welfare of society, maintain security in society, provide infrastructure of society, contain their responsibility. They shouldn't dabble into the management of the economy. They should allow those with sector-specific intelligence to manage the economy. Those who are smart enough to build their companies should build their companies and become perfectionists, make money and add to our GDP. It is by so doing that we can move towards the new economy. We are still far away from the new economy because we are still struggling with the control of political authority. The average process, as I speak to you, 2023 is 3 years away, but our political space is still about who will run election, who will be president, who will, who will be governor, who will not be, who will go to the Senate, who will not be. That's our control. People are still struggling over the control of political authority. We are yet to find leaders who can influence the decisions and make our society change and move on towards the new economy. Finally, look at the current analysis. So let me give you this analysis. You see the Big Brother show.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Call it around. To ever be produced in Nigeria with the best business case model, and has produced as at last week. The number of people who have subscribed and voted on Big Brother are more than the number of people who voted in the last presidential election. As at last week, the amount of money that has been made in Big Brother is more than the budget of about 10 states put together in Nigeria. Why is this so? Why do you think that people feel comfortable that they can go and vote on Big Brother and determine? Their influence, their human behavior has been influenced by that brand, and they can give into that brand. My final shot on this issue is that where a society is unable to produce a quality of leadership that can influence a citizen, influence the human behavior of the citizen, you have a separated society. The citizens will just give up on the government, pretend to remain there. The government will remain there and continue to be controlled by a cabal, a few group of people. Society will move ahead of leadership. As we speak, politicians are playing party. People are just concerned about their political offices, how much money they can make for their family. And then people are looking for survival outside of that. In the course of doing that, we have abandoned the new.
Okay, sir. Before we go, sir.
You have the resources.
Hello, sir. I don't know if you can hear me.
My worry now is that you find even successful people in the new economy now doing reverse engineering back to the political class. People want to run. Somebody wants to leave his company and go and run. MD of a bank wants to go and run for presidency of Nigeria. The reason is because they know that if you remain as MD of the bank and one school start holder has become president of Nigeria, it will revoke your bank license and you find yourself into trouble. So that is the biggest challenge we have. I believe that if we're able to identify the right leadership capacity, able to identify the right human resources, we're able to identify the right kind of value system, a kind of alternative. When the society fails, the value system fails. But the value code of the world has provided for alternative value system. There's always alternative intelligence, there's alternative economy, there's alternative value system. A leader must be able to foresee the calamity. A leader must have that small basic composite, that knowledge that he can be able to change the perspective of issues. A leader must be able to rise up.
Barrister John, Barrister John.
You don't need to be a solution architect. All you need to do is to create a solution architecture. And then sector-specific intelligence can now bring a solution, and then you take responsibility as a leader. So we must go back and build a leadership holding environment, number one.
Okay.
A leadership holding environment will help us to identify the right resources. Nurture them the way you nurture nursery or you nurture a child to become another. I have kids. I want my children to become particular specific kind of stars in human society. So I'm nurturing my children through the right value system. Can Nigeria sit down, identify its leaders, its young people, nurture them through that, create a holding environment in between the present and the future, nurture our young people, give them the right value system and prepare them to be good leaders of tomorrow.
All right, sir.
The second thing is that even if everything fails, can the society create a recovery space to recover its bad leaders, put them through a scrap system, reconstruct them and bring them back? You find that the best technology available in the world is the technology of reconstruction, mental reconstruction. If you watch the film by Wesley Snipes
Barrister John, I don't know if you can hear
Gemini,
me.
You find somebody, he has capacity in one area, but it's not doesn't change his DNA, do a lot of biological setup and turn it off. If you cannot, you create a robot that can deliver that kind of service. So society is passing through effective change environment. That perspective change environment is called a recovery space.
Hello, sir.
Human beings are like vehicles. As they grow old,
hello, sir,
or they have developed certain faults, you can bring them back to the mental workshop, reconstruct their mind and prepare them to take responsibility for the future. If we find our leaders who are veering off and are doing badly, or we find a value system that has created more qualities in our society than people that we can. Have you found that most of the people that say not too young to run, we want young people as governors? Some of the governors who are young, are they doing better than the
Barrister John? Barrister John, I don't know if you can hear me.
I don't know, at this young people, are they not better than youth leaders? They call them youth leaders, they are better. Are you not finding that political parties are appointing
Barrister John,
who are of the age of 60? We have a crisis in our hands, and the way to solve this problem is first we need to create a leadership environment, and then for those human tomatoes that have gone bad, or human apples in human beings who have gone bad, we need to create a recovery space. We need to recover them and change them. If you have 70% of your leaders or former leaders recycled in society,
John, I don't know if you can hear me.
Troublemakers, become impossible adults, they will make the machinery of social change impossible. So no society, leadership is also about realizing that the bulk of your elite are a bunch of calamity, and you must recover them. You must put them through a recovery system. They call it, in Christianity, they call it being born again, or resurrection, or salvation, or whatsoever. But it is a process, a process of mental recovery. It's a process that you put people through an orientation process, put them through a value chain system. You create a new alternative value system. A society that is veering off the radar can get back on the radar through a value system, get the right value system and put them back. Let's not make the mistake that today, the only serious leadership institution I've seen in Nigeria is the one I attended at the Lagos Business, in 2000.
Hello, sir.
I can't find a School of Governance and Politics. Almost all the top American senators and current president or former president, apart from Donald Trump, have gone through the Kennedy School of Governance and Politics. Do we have such an institution? It does not mean that if we have such an institution, the best institution to develop leaders is the institution of the street, the University of Open Society. The experience that people can get being counselors, the experience that people can get being ushers in church, or the experience that people can get running around the street doing their own businesses. A person that has capacity to sell granite on the street, even though he's a graduate and is sincere and has reputational advantage, if you put him through a leadership development scheme, you can produce a good leader out of it.
Hello, sir. Okay, thank you. Barrister, thank you for those insightful thoughts. that's quite a lot to handle. In fact, I don't even know where to begin to address the issue. However, and our time is fast spent, but I'm going to try to see if we can respond to one or two questions in 1 minute, please, because of our time. We have some questions here, but I'm going to see if we can respond to about one or two of them. I'll appreciate if you can stay within the confines of 1 minute maximum, so that we can also see if we can take one or two more. Okay, so the first question I have here is says, what advice will you give? And I'm bringing this up again because you've raised quite a lot of concerns in this direction. So in terms of advice and just suggestion, opinion in nuggets, in bullet points, what advice will you give to the youth who are into politics or aspire to leadership, considering how polarized our economy is? Some may want to go independently and not affiliate to political parties, but the political system might not allow them to flourish, even if they are promising. Will you advise them to be compulsorily partisan? And again, just to add some form of context to this, you alluded to the fact that our society itself, still has that challenge of identifying the right kind of leadership we need. So it becomes more cumbersome for a youth who wants to go into leadership and is faced with this kind of difficulty that this particular person is actually raising the question on. So what would be your 1-2 point advice to this person?
Okay, my advice would be that first of all is that let's go back to sector-specific intelligence, okay, and sector-specific leadership. We do not need everybody in Nigeria to come to the mainstream of political governance.
This is an advice. Sorry, sir. This is an advice to the youth in person. This particular youth now, sir. That's for this particular youth in question, right? What would you say what will you recommend him to do?
What I recommend the youth to do is one sector where you can lead. If today I decide to run a law firm as a young person, or I have other young people who are running law firm, do well in that area that you're doing. Build your capacity. You don't need to build your capacity to be governor when you cannot maintain your law office. If all you're doing is to sell cards on the road or to be a counselor to young people, build your capacity.
Hello? Are you still there, sir?
Do that, because by the time you succeed in building your capacity in a particular area, the circumstance of life will throw up a stage, the bigger stage for you in the field, a miracle. Which is why I say that leadership is not fit. You can't be prophesied into. You're a good leader, you become a good leader. You need to be that. So my advice is that they should develop that leadership box, think within the box, become excellent, and be an example in that box. By the time you come outside of the box, it will be very obvious that they can pick you out of the distance. I was not into politics. It was not my dream to be in politics. But Senator Lee Elimoke identified me as a successful young lawyer after I got back from Lagos Business School and said, come and run to the House of Assembly. I don't think that if I wasn't successful at that level, I couldn't control things at that level. I was already a notary public when I came to hold that position. So my advice is that leaders, young people must go back, identify one box of life, create their own leadership environment and lead from that point of view. If you see a young boy, if you check, yes.
Okay. All right. The second question, just again, we are 1 of time, so I'm just trying to see if we can at least take as many. Now, this other person is asking, how do I deal with the challenge? And so why has leadership in the third world countries been unable to fight issues such as corruption, despite the fact that we have institutionalized structures? And here you are talking about building a leadership holding, environment as such. And you also alluded to the fact that we need, sector-specific intelligence. I guess the institutionalized structures that we have are sector-specific in themselves. So, but why are we still not succeeding with that? So the person is asking, in the third world countries, most likely African, why have we not been successful with fighting the issue of corruption, despite this third level of intelligence, at least in form of structures that we have? In 1 minute, sir.
Okay, the first thing is that you must separate the areas where the entire society has failed, and then you can't take the responsibility to rescue humanity as a human being. I still believe that it's step down to your own level and ensure that at that level you succeed. You can't solve corruption problem in Nigeria alone by political declarations. If your institutions are weak, you can't solve any problem. We can't solve corruption problem today because the institutions that we set up together today to fight corruption, they are very weak. The chairman of EFCC is going through a corruption charge himself. I mean, what is worse than that? So that has failed. Now, it comes back to the fact that as a young person, you can't give up on society to the point that if the society institution to fight corruption is weak, then I won't do. First, the thing is that you must live your own life different because that separates you from other people. At the level you are in life, there's a stage where you are as an individual in your own box. You are going to get to the point where the society will come into that box, open the box and bring you out and give you a responsibility. I pray that when that opportunity comes, society can find you. It is at that point that society finds you that you can now bring in that intelligence that you have and be available for it to be elevated to something else.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our audience, if you're still with us, we've been talking on building leadership capacity in the new economy. And we still have with us our guest, Barrister John Gall Lebo, who has actually raised quite a lot of issues and has also made recommendations on how we think we can proceed as we move on. So any moment now, you'll be seeing an opinion poll on your screen. We just want to get your thoughts on what you think in the line of the discussion we are having. You will see that, and while you're trying to do that, I will just call on our guest to give his final thoughts on the matter. If you can, in summary, in all of this discussion, you have eliminated on Barrister John. If you were to put them on that point, let's say maybe somebody that joined probably couldn't follow us because of the network issues, or he joined late. In key points, what is our take home today in our bid to build leadership capacity for the new economy in nugget points, sir?
Okay, number 1 point would be that the future of leadership is to be able to have the capacity to influence human behavior. It's not in control of political authority, it's not in control of power. You must have such skill to be able to persuade people to follow your course of action. That's number 1. Number 2 is that the society must find the right, must create the human institutions that will enable it to identify the right quality of leaders with the right IQ, develop them over time so that they can be predetermined that we have developed the right. On that point too is that the society must be able to improve its merit architecture in such a way that the quality of the institutional capacity required to hold public office, it becomes something that is a little bit average and is not kindergarten. Society, the future of economic governance, political.
We can't seem to hear you.
The new economy. Nigeria is not near the new economy, and we're not looking at it. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
the line is breaking a bit.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Mr. John.
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Just conclude on your point, sir.
Okay, so on the third issue, the society must, we must know as a country that to be able to lead in the new economy, we need to develop leadership who have the capacity to influence human behavior. And then we also need to emphasize more on innovation governance and economic governance, and emphasize less on political governance and political authority. The future of society is designed in such a way that the society is a solution architecture and people are looking for solutions. Every human being in the world today has a choice architecture. If you can't deliver service, if you cannot provide the right environment, people are ready to navigate to the new environment, which is why a lot of people prefer to go to America or outside any part of the world other than Nigeria. So Nigeria must move quickly. We cannot move to the new economy without providing the right quality, identifying the right leaders, building the right leadership capacity, improving on our merit system, and then expecting that in the long term, they can deliver on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. It's been an amazing time with you. I mean, X-raying on the issue, building leadership capacity in the new economy. One thing is for certain, I mean, this is what it is. This is the economy we are in. It's not going to change. It's not going to go back to what we used to know it as. So I think the earlier we begin to identify the challenges and the kind of skills and the kind of structures and the kind of connections we need to be able to facilitate and grow in this economy, the better for us. And like you have said, the earlier we also begin to build that kind of environment that encourage the right kind of leadership to step forward and, you know, and show us the way, the better for us. So it's been an amazing time. I hope our viewers and our participants have also learned one or two things also through this session. So I'll just share with us the results from the poll. So we share the poll with you just to get your thoughts on this. Barrister John, thank you so very much. We appreciate your time. We know you're always pressed for time, so we appreciate the fact that you took out this time to be with us this afternoon. God bless you, and we'll look forward to seeing and engaging in other spaces. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so the results of the poll has come in, and we have, the first question was, in your opinion, how will you rate the capacity of leaders in your space, be it in businesses, politics, learning institutions, or local communities? How would you rate their capacity to lead in this new economy? 5% of us said excellent, another 5% said very good, 14% said good, 32% said fair, and 50% said poor. Well, you can also you see the result for yourself. So that means we have a lot of work to do. It's not too far from what our guest has actually talked about this afternoon. Then the second question was, what areas would you want to see these leaders improve their capacity? If you're giving them such rating, how do you want to see them improve their capacity? 14% of us says that we want to see them be more clear and defined on their vision and articulate it better. 41% said we want to see people-centered innovation, which speaks to the innovation governance that our guest actually talked about today. 9% says they want to see a leadership that has a capacity to facilitate and promote profitable connections. I guess Those would be for the likes of the business guys and other people that have ventures of theirs. And then 36% says they want to see a kind of leadership that is able to build sustainable communities. I think that's very key. Even though we're a Nigerian state, I think at our small levels of communities, we need to be able to exist and coexist and grow ourselves as a people in a manner that is sustainable. And then another 5% says, I cannot say. Well, that's what it is. But once again, like I said, it's very clear that on this journey that we are in, and with this, with our new reality, leadership is at the center of it. Whether you're a political leader, whether you're a business leader, whether you're an institutional leader, whether you're a leader at your community, at a community level, at this point in time, we need to begin to all together build some level of capacity that will ensure we're able to deliver on the expectations and the deliverables that is required of us. So on behalf of the Bridge Leadership Foundation, we want to thank you for joining us on today's session of our online series, and we look forward to seeing you in subsequent sessions. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.